Team Liquid in Germany. His name is TLO. And his opponent in the top right-hand side in the blue, from the Sloth clan, currently teamless, it is Creature. Sloth Esports Club. Look at that angry sloth. I've never seen a sloth that angry before. Look at that little guy. Oh my gosh. Rawr, rawr. 2017, huh? Okay, well, we'll just see how that works out. Going to be a hatch gas pool for TLO. Of course, forced to get that hatch to that third base location because there's a pesky little probe in here from Creature. Just poking around, seeing what the timings look like. He is going to see that one gas taken, is going to see the spawning pool down, and should know there's a third base that has been spotted by TLO. And yeah, he's going to pop over, check for that third base, see it, and adjust his play accordingly by dropping that Nexus down on the low ground. So gateway into Nexus for Creature. Very economic builds from both players as we kick off game number 2. I'm very interested to see what TLO gets up to here in game number 2. He has got a lot of options available to him, and he's playing against a player who is not very well known. Again, this is the very first game I have ever cast with Creature, so I'm not sure what to expect out of his style. The NA qualifiers were pretty brutal. It's good to see some... Oh, hang on, that's not quite right. There we go. It's good to see some unknown players making their way through these grueling opening brackets. And I'm excited to see how they fare. We do have the Twilight Council opener going down for Creature in the main base. And the natural down. Gateway, wall is finished up here for Creature as the third base for TLO finishes. It's going to be a Glaive Adept push out of Creature, which we could have called based on these the Robo Facility going down at a bit of a later time. He is going to grab Gateway number 3 and Gateway number 4. There it is. So with 4 gates going down, this is going to be a very aggressive Glaive Adept push for Creature. TLO has not spotted this. Yes, does have an Overlord popping in, though, and he should know that this is coming. The Overlord going to get picked back by this Stalker. I'm not actually sure if the Overlord's going to make it all the way in, and TLO isn't sure either. He's just going to go ahead and get that Overlord out, not willing to sacrifice it to the gods of scouting. His second Overlord going to get into the natural, but might not make his way up to the main base. Sees the third gas, sees the low ground pylon, but does not see the Robo or the Twilight Council. TLO still in the dark. And wow, Creature adding on the Dark Shrine behind this. Going to go for Archon follow-up behind these Glaive Adepts. So far, only 4 Adepts out on the map. They should be making their way across to join the Warp Prism very soon. Lings from TLO do spot this coming across, though. TLO's scouting pattern is ridiculous. Take a look very quickly at TLO's vision on the map. Just look at that mini-map. TLO sees everything. His Overlord spread is impeccable. He's got scouting Lings all over the place. And finally, only now, just bringing them all back home to make sure he can fight against this Glaive Adept push. 8 Glaive Adepts now on the map for Creature. TLO with Roaches out, though, and he's going to spot him coming in. Roach is getting on top of the Adepts here. The Adepts going to be forced out. Will they finish that Shade up into the main? I don't think they should. Or up into the natural? They shouldn't. Shade is canceled because, of course, the Lings are on top of them already, and Creature is just going to back away. That is a flawless defense. A flawless defense for TLO. Glaive Adepts coming back in. This time they might finish that Shade. Nope, going to cancel it again. Chickening out yet again. All right. So we have got TLO adding on some more Roaches beyond this. He's going for Roach speed as well now that the Lairtech has finished up DTs into the main, and TLO is going to be forced to pull very quickly. His Overseer just a little bit late, and the Spore Crawler probably is going to go down. No, he cancels the Spore Crawler, but the Overseer pops out, and these DTs not going to get anything done there. Not a lot of kills at all. Only 16 drones going down, but so far a very clean game from Creature. Glaive Adept's not doing a whole lot right now. Just sharking around the map, no damage being found. Third base has been planted now for Creature. Let's see if these Adepts get in this time. Of course, Glaive Adepts are one of the really valuable ways to attack your opponent because they can always get so much damage done, not just early in the game, but mid-game as well. They can shade in. If you're not paying attention, they can do an awful lot of damage combined with these Archons. There's actually quite a bit of DPS in the main base right now of TLO. TLO forced to bring some of his Lings back home to try and deal with this. He is going to pick up going to clean up all those Adepts. The Adepts will get pushed away, but the Archons will stay alive for a little bit longer. TLO pushing across now. Underneath the Warp Prism, TLO's army supply now at 54. Here we go, TLO pushed away from the third base. Sorry, guys, doing some admin work in the background here. Everything should be fine now. Goodness gracious. Lings getting into the main base, though, slipping through. TLO going to get a couple probe kills. Couple more Zerglings are going to go down. Zealot should be able to chase him away here, but Spire behind this for TLO, and that is what is so clutch right now. This Spire doing an absolutely magnificent job for TLO. This has been unscouted so far, and if it continues unscouted, Creature is going to be caught completely by surprise. The only units he has in his army that shoot upward right now are these Archons, and that looks rough. If, in fact, a bunch of Mutas get in for TLO once the Spire finishes, Creature is going to be caught completely by surprise. He's working on Zealot Charge right now, working on +1, but not adding on anything else. The Spire finishes. TLO has 1,000 minerals and about 900 gas. We should see 8 and 9 Mutas popping out very quickly for TLO. Warp Prism trying to pick off the Overseer. The Overseer not going to make it all the way in. Nice snipe there from Creature. Creature's army supply not too bad, actually. But again, these 9 Mutalisks could do a ton of damage. There are no photon cannons. There's not even a shield battery up in the main base right now for Creature. He could be caught completely by surprise. The Overlord clearing is very good. These Archons with, wow, 13 kills on one of them. I didn't see what the kill count was on the other. The Mutalisks have made themselves known now, and they're going to pick down this Warp Prism. He's got to drop those Archons out. Oh, man, losing one Archon in the Warp Prism. That's a rough start here. Second Archon going to go down as well. Not an auspicious beginning for Creature in this matchup. Mutalisks, meanwhile, going to dodge this fight, and the Roaches are going to try and hold these charge lots for as long as they can. Fighting off creep is a bit of a mistake here, but the Mutalisks are going to be forced to be brought back by TLO. He's hallucinating this Colossus, hallucinating 2 Archons as well. Creature desperate to try and make this work. TLO is heavily supply blocked right now after losing all those Overlords, though. No Archons here. The Archons, of course, are hallucinated, but only a few units that shoot upward here. I think TLO knows now this Archon is not doing as much damage as it should be. It's got to be a Haluk, and that means all the sentries are going to go down there. The Mutalisk's getting on top of the one real Archon, but they are going to get on top of it there. The Archon is going to go down. The Mutalisk's doing so much damage now. Again, no units to shoot up now. The last Archon is gone. These Mutalisks have free reign, and once the Immortals get picked down, there's nothing left in Creature's army. A big warp in going to get canceled by the Mutas, and that is it. GG drops down, and ladies and gentlemen, Liquid TLO grabs game number 1. Well played by TLO, snagging a Game 1 victory on Everdream LE. Creature just not able to keep up with the Mutalisk transition that TLO so expertly engineered in the mid-game. Game number 2 going to be coming down very soon. Quick update for those of you who are excited to see what comes next here on DreamHack. ESL StarCraft C. Next up on my stream is going to be another really good Zerg matchup. Namshar joining our stream to play against Semper. And then our final match, some NA versus NA action, some proper native North Americans. Our last match of the day is going to be Future versus J Heffy for some more TVZ Pardon me, TVT. Right. J Heffy Terran. TVT action. So, this will be our final PVZ of the day. No. PVZ number 2 of the day. Our third PVZ of the day going to be Namshar versus Semper. And then, of course, our last game is going to be a TVT with J Heffy and Future. So some great NA names and some good NA names that you may not think of as NA names just because they currently live or have a passport in the North America region. Game number 2 going to be on Eternal Empire LE. These players sticking with the maps that they feel most confident, most comfortable playing on. TLO and Creature should be ready to go. We're in game now, and I hope that we're getting started soon with game number 2. TLO currently with a 1-game lead. Remember, TLO won his very first game of the group so far. He is 1-0. His second match here against Creature could put him at a 2-0 match score. And that's great. That's actually a big chunk of change. Remember that each of the match wins for these players awards them an additional $125. So that means if TLO walks away with 2 victories today, even if he loses everything tomorrow, he's going to walk away with $250 in his pocket from this group stage alone. So good stuff from TLO. I'll be jazzed to see if he can make it work. We're getting in now to game number 2. TLO currently 1 game up over Creature. Let's jump in. Spawning. In the bottom left-hand side of Eternal Empire LE in the red. Representing Team Liquid, it is our Zerg player, TLO. And his opponent. In the top right-hand side in the blue, representing Sloth Gaming, it is Creature. Now, Creature living up to his team name with a bit of a slow start in game number 1. Unfortunately, he wasn't really able to make the magic happen in game 1. TLO able to defend the Glaive to Depth push fairly well, push across with some roaches, create just enough pressure that he could buy some time to get his third base up and get those Mutalisks out. Game number 2 looks to have a very similar opener to game number 1, though, as we do see Creature gearing up for what could be a gateway expand. I think it's going to be a gateway expand. A TLO with that hatch gas pool opener. Good scout from Creature here. TLO not drone scouting, but sending that first lumbering overlord across the map. Gateway finishes up. Nexus goes down. Cybercore going to help to complete that wall off partially, as we see both of our players going into macro-oriented styles. Exactly what you'd expect from 2 players who took game 1 to a pretty late game, actually. Game number 2, looking like it could take a while as well, but you never know what's going to happen with Protoss players. Lots of opportunities for them to get some pressure in the early to mid game. Second pylon, or third pylon rather, in the main, second pylon in the main base of Creature right now, so no proxy tech. Drones mainarding over to that third. And TLO looking to put down a third base very quickly. Meanwhile, tech is out for our Protoss player. Creature dropping a Stargate opener. Now, we didn't see this last game. Of course, last game we saw him go straight into Glaive to Depths. This game, though, Stargate first, and we'll see what he can get done with that. Luckily, of course, if you go Stargate first, that usually means you skip the Stalker opener. With no Stalker, TLO should be able to hop in and get, I was going to say with the Overlord and get a scout, but he's actually just going to slip 2 Lings in for the full scout. Look at this. Beautiful stuff. Ling into the main base. Sees the Stargate. Knows exactly what he's up against. We'll see Dario dropping down those Spore Crawlers eventually. But he'll need to protect that early third base that he got down at about the 2.5 minute mark. Third base finishing up quite soon for TLO. Creature kicking out his very first Phoenix. Lings that snuck in have been taken care of. Pardon me, guys. Evo Chamber down early for Dario here. TLO is going to go for an early +1 timing. Really interesting to see the spawning pool is the only tech into Evo Chamber. I don't know if you guys noticed this. I never see the Evo Chamber as having like a face. But then when it dies, like this little blurb becomes a skull. So if you ever see an Evo Chamber die, you'll see like this spine and the ribs die. But then there's like a little skull area up front here. This never looks like a face to me. But it definitely is based on the nomenclature of the bones of that Evo Chamber. So if an Evo Chamber goes down, keep an eye on it because you'll see that little skull pop out and it looks so gross. I love it. Whoa. Bold play from Creature here. Not one, but 2 Stargates down for Creature here. Gonna open with Mass Phoenix. His first Oracle on the map. He's got a Phoenix out as well, but second Phoenix going down behind this, and with the second Stargate, he's definitely gonna go Mass Phoenix. Now, it's very important that TLO figures this out quickly rather than belatedly and starts getting a Hydralisk Den and a lot of Queens to deal with this. Phoenix production beginning 2 at a time for Creature. Phoenix and Oracle are going to pop into the natural here, but the Spore is down. Queen is going to get lifted. This Oracle going to try and find some damage here, but the Queen not able, the lift from the Phoenix not able to slow down too much damage. And Creature is going to get out of there with only 1 drone kill. Not a very effective trade at all for Creature. He didn't lose anything, of course, but you want to get more damage done than that. Still no scout, by the way, from TLO. He does not know if he's up against maybe a Glaive Adept follow-up or a Robo Immortal follow-up, Immortal Sentry. Could be anything. I'm sure he probably doesn't suspect that it is going to be Mass Phoenix plus 1 air weapons even beginning here for Creature. This is so unusual. TLO's Overlord sneaking in the back here. Might make it across if the Phoenix don't catch it in time. We see a lot of Lings coming out from TLO, moving their way across the third base to try and pressure down on this new third base from Creature. The Ling count very high from TLO. You can see him coming across the map. A lot of Banes in production as well. 8 Banes in the production tab. This third base is not going to live for very long. We'll see if Creature decides to saturate it up. He is going to move across with his Flight of Phoenix, though. The Phoenix might be able to find some damage. They will scout out the 4th base. They will get into the 3rd base. There are 2 Queens and 2 Spores here, and I think TLO now knows what he might be up against. Let's see if this Baneling bust does anything. As the Phoenix come into the 3rd base, sharking around, trying to find some damage here. Queens engaging, but here we go. Big Baneling bust into the 3rd base. The Banelings not gonna blow themselves up on the base just yet. Very tactical, judicial use of those Banes so far from TLO. Adept 1 goes down, Adept 2 goes down, Adept 3 under duress. There is not much on the ground right now for Creature. Just 1 Adept, and he's got to warp in some more units. Desperately trying to do so. Got to bring these Phoenix all the way back home. As soon as TLO sees the Phoenix, he detonates the Banelings, knowing that those are going to be the target of the Graviton beams. 16 probes have gone down, and that number only going to grow now as these Lings get into the main base. The probes pulled off the line. 23, 24, 25 miles to the county seat. All of these probes gonna go down one after the other. 28 probes now as the Lings are cleaned up, but this is crippling damage being dealt by TLO here. This Mass Phoenix build being countered by a Ling run by TLO with another round of Lings coming across the 3rd base. Now, TLO didn't destroy the 3rd base. He didn't pick it down, but I don't think that was intention. He got much juicier targets, 29 probes instead, and now, of course, he knows that he's up against that double Stargate Mass Phoenix build, so Mass Ling with a Spire behind it is absolutely the right call. These Oracles going to come in to try and deal some damage, but there's no energy left. TLO definitely could have had that 3rd natural if he would have stuck around. I think he's just being a bit extra cautious right now, wants to stay back home, defend, get his Spire up, build some Corruptors, and try and make it work. Shield Battery Overcharge going down from Creature. That will save his 3rd base yet again, but his army supply is so low right now. Look at this army. Look at this, this income, rather. So low right now. Look at this income graph, wildly in favor of TLO, while the army supply may be in Creature's favor. Most of that army supply, a huge majority of that army supply, in fact, is tied up in these 10 Phoenix that are on the map, and 10 Phoenix simply not going to be that effective against +2 Lings. We see +1 Air Carapace coming down, as well as 7 Corruptors popping out from TLO. He knows exactly the counter, and I love it. The Phoenix can maybe try and get across the map and get some more economic damage done, but TLO is on 80 workers right now. He's on 4 bases right now. He is so far ahead here in game number 2. Overlord will get taken down by those Phoenix, but it's a small victory for TLO. He may win that battle. He will lose the war. 4th base for TLO is up and established. I'd love to see a 5th base soon, but he's also getting a good tech path here. The Hydralisk Den coming down for TLO. Hydras and Corruptors, of course. A 1-2 double whammy punch against the Phoenix count of Creature. I'm actually a little curious to see, now that Creature has seen these Corruptors, I wonder what he's looking at. I'm going to switch you guys to Creature Cam and see what he can see right now, see what he's looking at. This is exactly what Creature is viewing, spending a lot of time back home, but also dipping back to micro those Phoenix. He's dropping another Stargate, going to go to 3 Stargate behind this, and Creature is having a lot of trouble dealing with these Corruptors. The Corruptors picking off a lot of it. We'll switch back to everyone's cam here as TLO is queuing up for a big attack. Luckily, there are 3 Sentry Wards here, Stasis Wards here. Sentry Wards, what game am I playing? There are 3 Stasis Wards here, and if TLO doesn't suspect they're there, his Lings may actually get stymied there, get slowed down. Luckily, I think he spotted those Stasis Wards, saw the shimmer on the ground from his Corruptors going over the top of him, and he should be able to set them off with 1 Ling at a time. Still no 5th base for TLO. The worker count slowly catching up. Creature up to 65 already, but the army count still in favor of TLO, and these Corruptors are going to have a field day getting into the natural, and that's going to force an engagement out of Creature, because if TLO decides to drop his corrosive vials, his caustic spray onto this natural and barf onto it with those Corruptors, it's not going to last very long, so that's going to force these Phoenix out to defend that, and I think that's exactly what TLO wanted. Caustic spray onto the Forge here, again forcing those Phoenix back out of the fight. Oh, a very nice Stasis Ward going down there. A second Stasis Ward goes down. Third Stasis Ward tripped as well. Plenty of the Lings for TLO have been caught by these Stasis Wards, but he's got a massive number of Hydras coming across the map now. These are slow Hydras. Muscular Augments is not finished up yet, but he does have Grooved Spines, and that's really all that matters, because 4 Lurkers are now on the way. No Lurker upgrades yet, but I don't think it matters at this point. Lurker against Phoenix? What are we even doing here? And oh my god, a bit of a miscalculation from Creature, who's sending a probe down to build his 4th base right now, and that is a huge mistake, a huge misplay from Creature, who definitely can't afford a 4th base right now. Had no idea, I think, that TLO's attacking army was coming, and now, with Corruptors, with Banelings, with the Lurkers, there is simply not going to be that much left. Hydras picking their way through these Phoenix one by one. The Void Rays trying to get some damage done on the Hydras as well, but the ground army for TLO is simply too hot. Banelings crashing into the natural mineral line there, the third mineral line actually. 30 probes going down in the initial engagement, and that is it. There is no army supply left on the map for Creature. He GG's out, and that's it. TLO is going to take this series.